Welcome to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It, the podcast where we dive deep into the journey from vision to reality. I'm Kelly Jackson, your guide on this path of self-discovery, transformation, and intentional living. Here, we explore everything from mindset shifts and personal growth to spiritual alignment and entrepreneurship, sharing insights, stories, and actionable wisdom to help you live a life in harmony with your dreams. Every episode will dig into what it means to not only dream big, but to actually consciously create the life you envision. Let's turn your dreams into real life. Hello, friends. Welcome back. I was online the other day and I saw this quote that said, "Your light is going to irritate a lot of unhealed people." And I said, that is a perfect episode. Let's talk about it. Have you ever felt this way? Have you ever felt this way? Can you relate to this? Because I can. And I'm going to talk about it from both sides because I like to talk about it from both sides because then it meets you kind of where you are. Because regardless of which side you're on right now, and I say side, I guess there's not just like two sides, but you'll understand what I'm saying. The perspective is different. So again, the quote that inspired this episode, the thing I saw online, it said, "Your light is going to irritate a lot of unhealed people." I'm going to go back to before I had children, and my very first pregnancy ended in a miscarriage, and for reasons directly related to the miscarriage, I took a part-time job at the hospital. And I was working in the Healthy Self. That was the name of the place, which Heal Thyself, depending on how you read it, the way it was written, it was Heal Thyself or Healthy Self, which I love because it was a little bit of a Easter egg of what was to come in my life, right? But at the time, so I had the miscarriage, took that job for reasons directly related to the miscarriage, to losing that pregnancy. And when I was working there at the hospital at the Healthy Self, we had a coffee man. And he was the man who owned the coffee company and delivered, it was a local company, and delivered the coffee to the establishment. And he was a very kind man and very happy. And I didn't like him for those two reasons. Not because I did not like him because he was kind. I didn't like him because he was happy. And let me tell you what I mean. He whistled. He was the whistler. And he was so joyful, and he had such a positive and happy disposition, and he was just a very happy man, and he whistled. And when he would enter the building, before he would even come into the part of the building, the room where I was, I could hear him whistling down the hall. And I remember that my body would get tight. I would feel everything clench up. My shoulders would clench up. My jaw would get tight, and I would get really aggravated because I knew he was there. And his presence did not resonate with me. At the time, I was at a really low place in my life. I had just this baby I had wanted for my whole life, that every month for nearly one full year, for 11 months, I was checking, quote, trying to get pregnant, right? I mean, I was trying to get pregnant. And so it was just, there was so much effort involved and it was just so forced and so much pressure and all of that. And and then it finally happened and I was ecstatic and at the time didn't even know I didn't know I knew anyone that had experienced a miscarriage. And so it no one in my family had that I knew of. And so it was just like not on my radar. And so I was so surprised when it happened because I just didn't see it coming. And it was devastating to me and I did not handle it well because I already wasn't even in a good place before that happened, probably, right? And so then it was worse. And so now here I am, unhappy, and he's really happy. And I was going through a lot of different things in my life at that time, and I was working and with my businesses because I had the landscape company at the time, and that was very busy and just other things. And I'm still trying to manage also working this part-time gig into the deal and having my other businesses as well. So, yeah, he triggered me and I didn't like him. And not because he did anything wrong or because there was anything wrong with this kind gentleman. It was because he was irritating the unhealed parts of myself, the parts of myself that were not happy. He irritated those parts of me and I didn't like him. And it wasn't because of him. It was because of me. And it was because of where I was. And his light did irritate me. And if he ever hears this, I hope he knows that I'm sorry. And it was never anything personal because I think he would try to have conversations with me and I was pretty short with him as well. And I mean, kind because, I did work there and of course that, but I don't think I was, very personable or very receptive to his kindness. Again, not because of him. It was a reflection of where I was in my life and not having the self-awareness or any of those things that I have now to recognize that about the situation and to know that that's what it was, right? So, I want to on this episode, I was thinking that we could explore how shining your light can be transformative, even if it challenges others, and how self-love can help you lean into your own light without fear or hesitation. So, what do y'all think? You ready? Let's dive in. Why does your light both inspire and irritate? Because if you're shining your light, it can be doing both simultaneously. It can be inspiring some people and it can be irritating other people. And let me, before we get into it, I do want to say this, why I think this is such a good topic to discuss is because this is a very real thing that is going on in a lot of people's lives. And sometimes this is a thing that can hold us back from shining our light because we see if it does irritate other people and maybe we're taking that personally. And so I think this talk, my hope, let's take the coffee man, for example, the whistling coffee man. My hope is that he didn't take it personally when I was the way that I was back then. And I hope that he recognized the same thing that I recognize now, because I've shared the story about the coffee man before. And I've also now described myself as the whistler. I'm like, I am the whistler, right? Because I recognize that I can have that same effect on some people, that my light is going to irritate a lot of unhealed people as well. And I recognize that when energetically I can see that in people, when I can see that energetically someone might not be resonating with my frequency, with my vibe, with my energy, I don't take it personally because I recognize that. I see myself in them. And when I was in that place, and I remember very vividly how much I used to clench up when I would hear the coffee man come in with his whistling, and I knew it wasn't about him. And so I have compassion and empathy. And so I want to talk about this because a lot of us, if you're listening to this right now, dreamed it, then real life it, and you're interested in transformation and manifestation and metaphysics and mindset and all of these things that the show is going to be touching on, then you are already stepped into that place of shining your light, or you're like actively stepping into that place of shining your light, or you're like, I want to shine my light. I don't want to hide anymore. I don't want to be dim. I want to sparkle and shine. And so you're in the right place. So let's talk about it. Why does your light both inspire and irritate? And I'm going to tell you, because when we show up authentically, we have a choice to dim our light to keep others comfortable, or let it shine, knowing that it might stir something in other people. And people react from their own levels of healing. And our brightness can sometimes highlight their shadows. And this doesn't mean that we should hold back. But instead, this is an invitation to lead with compassion and self-love. And I'm going in Self-Love Uni. Some of you may know, some of you may not. We're going to, of course, be talking more about this, but Self-Love Uni's this my signature coaching program. This is what on that 7+ year celibacy journey I was on, when I was becoming an expert on self-love, I was creating this program. And I go deep into finding and embracing your authentic self and showing you how to hold your ground and keep shining even when it feels challenging. And I'm hoping to share some of that insight with you through this platform as well, right? That's what I love about being here with you and being able to bust some of this goodness into your ears, is that, we can have these little moments together where we can have these conversations and we can go deep, and it's fun and exciting. So let's keep going. Reframing reactions from others. So let's get real about how we feel when other people aren't supportive. Because reactions from unhealed people, again, they're often not about us. They are reflections of their own pain and unmet needs. Just like me and the coffee man. It wasn't about him, y'all. I was struggling back then. I was not in a good place, right? And I didn't yet have the tools to bring myself back from that place consciously, intentionally. I lacked them. I didn't have them yet. So self-love is what keeps us grounded and confident and allows us to keep moving forward. And that's what I loved about creating Self-Love Uni, was it was this perfect foundation to learn these boundaries and to understand that sometimes the best support is the support that you give yourself. And it's so good. Setting boundaries as a light worker. And have you ever heard that word, light worker? Because I had not heard that word before my intentional journey of self. I was not familiar with it. And now that I've been on this journey, a light worker, it's someone who's doing the light work, who's doing this kind of work, right? Like when you're tapped into your light, and that's self-awareness, higher self, collective consciousness, a higher consciousness. This is all being a light worker, speaking your truth, living authentically. Like all of this is what contributes to being a light worker, right? And so wanting to raise the vibrations of love and the collective consciousness, all of this. So when you're tapped into your light, people who are hurting or unhealed may respond negatively. Like that is really going to be one of your experiences. And setting boundaries isn't just it's not just protective. It becomes essential self-care. Because boundaries allow us to continue shining while honoring our energy. And we have to do both. We have to honor our energy. We have to set boundaries. We have to maintain boundaries. We have to honor boundaries, right? But these boundaries, time boundaries, emotional boundaries, mental boundaries, energetic boundaries, all of those boundaries are to help us honor our energy and allow us to keep shining, right? And I'm going to keep coming back to this. So in Self-Love Uni, that's one of the things I teach, practical ways to set boundaries that come from a place of love, allowing you to protect your peace while being the radiant person that you're meant to be. Because you are meant to shine. You do not need to dim your light. Please don't. Please don't. Especially not if it's to make another person feel more comfortable. Because you were meant to shine. And we'll get into this in a little bit, but like, you inspire others. Well, we said it a little other. Your light, it is going to inspire others. It's going to inspire some and it's going to irritate others. Don't worry about the people that it's irritating because, again, it's not about you. That's what they're going through, their pain, their unmet needs. You being you and shining your light, it is going to inspire others, though. People who are ready to shine their light too, or maybe who already are, and they are going to see you and you're going to give them permission to shine a little brighter themselves. Okay? So let's look at your light as an invitation for growth, because this is kind of what I'm talking about. So instead of dimming yourself for others, what if we could see each other's light as an invitation for growth? Because sometimes when people react negatively, it's because they see something that they desire in themselves, right? And maybe it's a shadow aspect of themselves. So they may be either consciously in denial of it or unconsciously in denial of it. They may not even be aware of it, right? Because that's kind of what a shadow aspect is. Sometimes it's these unconscious or unaware parts of yourself that you've deemed unworthy or unlovable or whatever. Well, sometimes when people see you shining and they have a negative response to it, it's not because you're doing something wrong or you're bad or any of these things. It's because, like, whether they realize it or not, there's something about what you're doing that they would love to be doing too. They would love to have the confidence to be seen in that way, to be heard in that way, to show up in that way. Maybe they haven't discovered how to do that yet, or they haven't given themselves permission to do that yet, or they still feel like they have to dim their light because for the approval or comfort level of others. Who knows? But if you keep shining, you are going to inspire others to grow. And when we see other people shining, instead of feeling jealous or having negative thoughts about them, let it inspire us to grow and shine brighter as well. And let's talk about owning your journey without apology. Because, yeah, guys, it's human to want approval and connection. That's human nature. Going back to tribes, we wanted to belong, right? Like, it's human nature to want approval and connection. But we often have to choose between external approval and inner truth. Because sometimes our inner truth is not going to resonate with maybe some of the external forces, right? Some of the things going on. They don't approve of what our inner truth is. And maybe this episode could be a reminder that we don't need validation from everyone. You have to validate yourself. Self validation. Don't wait on others to give you approval or validate you. And own your journey without apology, friends. You know, be who you are. Don't apologize for shining. Don't apologize for being different. Don't apologize for living your truths and being authentic. Own who you are. And this is part of shadow work too, which that's what we're going to move into here in a minute. But I just wanted to touch on a couple things beforehand. So let's not rely on that external validation. And look, I've been there. And one of the things, I think this is actually pretty beautiful. You know, I don't come into this with too much of a plan here. I'm having a conversation and letting it flow naturally to some extent, maybe a little bit of an outline or idea of where I'm coming from. But for the most part, this is an organic conversation that is truly unfolding as I sit here. To give you a visual, I'm looking into, I see a reflection of myself in the window in front of me. So I'm kind of in this room, this control room all alone, having a conversation with myself, but not with myself because I'm having conversation with all of you who are listening, which is kind of a neat thing to think about. And I'm still excited I'm here and this is really fun. So I hope you're enjoying it as well. But let's keep going. So owning your journey without apologies. Just, guys, we're here. We're here to do it. We're here to do it. And I want you to do it. And the validation, that's where I was going with this. So one of the things that's kind of fun is that one of the things I needed to heal, one of the wounds that I became aware of that I needed to heal was seeking external validation. And I didn't realize how much of my self-esteem or even maybe self-efficacy or any of this stuff, these feelings of that were coming from external validation. And what I was hearing from other people or the feedback I was getting from other people. And so I had to really heal that part of myself that wanted approval or connection from others. And one of the ways that the universe delivered on that was by, maybe you have to know the first part of this to understand why this matters. So when I decided to start painting and I started the Etsy shop and it was like, man, I mean, things just exploded. It happened so fast. Back then I had a Facebook account. I used Facebook. I was not on Instagram, and now I'm not on Facebook, but I was using Facebook at the time and was, sharing there. And then I had a Pinterest and things were just, it was just like thousands and thousands and thousands of people following the account. And I wasn't advertising. I wasn't doing anything. It was just, but people were just finding out and it was growing. And years later, after doing it, I decided to start an Instagram account for this. I wasn't on Instagram at all, but for my painting and art business, still called What You Want, I created an Instagram account. And within the first 7 days, I had 700 followers on that account. Now, to put that into perspective, the account that I have now, which is my Be What You Want account, kind of personal, kind of for coaching, whatnot. I don't know. It was up until this year, it was a personal account. I wasn't doing any business on it. But like that account was like 4 or 5 years before it reached 700 people. But when I had the painting and stuff, so within 7 days, it was like 700 people. And then, not long thereafter, it was up to 12,000, I think. And at that point, when it had reached 12,000, so I had started this Instagram account about the time that of the divorce. So that was happening over that year. And that I was making that transition onto Instagram, because this is also like how I had. Okay, so around the time that I had discovered yoga, that yoga had found me, I mentioned the Instagram challenges. I was at the time still doing my painting in my Etsy shop full time. And I had a girlfriend who sent me a text and said, I think your Instagram account got hacked. And I was like, hmm. And I went to it, and sure enough, so 12,000 some odd, a community of that many people all in one place, all with my art and all of my stuff I had been building for the last year, and it was gone. And I didn't freak out about it though, because I had been doing this work. I had been on this journey for a little bit, and I was like, I think this is a sign that I'm supposed to shift here. I'd already kind of been doing it. And so I didn't, it was fine. I leaned in and I didn't flip out about the fact that that account was gone. I was like, it's time to pivot. It's just time to pivot. Well, here's the thing. So I tell you that to put it into perspective. So when I talk about learning how to validate yourself, not relying on external validation, part of what this beautiful lesson that I believe that the universe delivered to me, which I'm grateful for, was when I did start this journey that I'm on now, and even now, even as I speak now, and I've had this account, I guess now for 8 years, if you look at a follower count on Instagram, it's under 3,100 people. And I've been at this, sharing this story and everything for 8 years. So I keep showing up and showing up and showing up and showing up without the external validation. Like I believe and I love and I'm grateful for this, because I've become who I've become not because of external validation. I have showed up and posted. I remember, we're talking years ago. We're talking 7 years ago. This is before I even had, I think I maybe had 400 followers at the time. And I remember this person commenting, because I was posting every day and putting so much heart into these captions, because when I created the account, it was to share my story, share my journey. I was willing to be witnessed cleaning up my mess, right? So I was there like learning and navigating and sharing and documenting my personal story as I went. Again, I had no offering. I wasn't doing my art. This was just me showing up, sharing for the first time ever. Because when I did have those Facebook and Instagram account for my art, this is worth adding to, guess what? So out of like thousands and thousands and thousands of photos on those accounts, there's probably like 3 pictures of me, if that. I hid behind my work. You did not see me. You did not see me at all. So this was new to me. This of like stepping in front of the camera, being seen, sharing my voice, all of this was new. And I was doing it. And so, like I said, I had about 400 followers showing up, like wanting to make a difference and wanting to make this positive impact and all this stuff. And I remember this woman reaching out saying, you post like you have 1 million followers and you have 400. And you know what? Like, I don't know her tone, how she meant it, whether it was a compliment or a cut down, but you know what? It didn't matter how she meant it. I was like, well, yeah, I'm not, if it positively impacts one person, then I'm happy, because it's helping me. I can't tell you how many times I would even go back to my own post, my own journey, the own things I was sharing, and look back and read things and be like, man, I really needed to hear that. So it was like I'm doing it for myself and doing it for my children, and, doing it for those people out there who did want to hear. And that was one thing that I teach my clients and that I believe, and that, well, two things. For one, never underestimate your ability to positively impact the life of another, even if you don't know about it. You may never know some of the lives that you have positively impacted, but never underestimate your ability to do so. And the other thing is that, oh, pardon me while I shifted positions. The other thing is that, did I shift positions right out of that thought? Let's see. What did we say, guys? We said, I was telling you something that I tell my clients. I guess it'll come back to me if it's meant to come back to me. But here's the thing. So I'm showing up and I'm not worrying about how many likes I get. If I just was doing it based on the engagement, the number of likes, or if that, because I think that was something that I didn't realize mattered as much to me as did, or that I was basing my worth off of, because I had had so much success in that previous career, that field. And now that I was shifting and doing away with that, I was like, how much of my self-worth was based on the validation that I was getting from other people, that I was doing a good job or something like that. And the shift that needed to happen within me was, I needed to be able to validate myself. I needed to be able to know that what I was creating was worthy, and it had a place in the world, and my voice, I was safe to be seen. I was safe to be heard. And even if I wasn't getting some overwhelming response, that didn't mean that I wasn't good enough. And that didn't mean that I needed to quit, or that didn't mean that nobody cared and that I should be quiet. Because you know what? And I might tear up when I say this. And I appreciate you. And if you're listening and you know who you are, I had someone send a message not that long ago, just letting me know that there was a point in time when they had, basically gotten off of Instagram, and they were only staying on so that they could follow what I was posting every day. It was just helping them at that time of their life. Y'all, when you get a message like that, it's like, that's why you do it. And not that that's validation, but I continued to show up and post like I had 1 million followers, even when I had 400. And I did it, and I did it, and I did it, and I did it for years, and I did it for years, and I did it for years, and kept doing it. And look, even now, like, I'm 100% grateful for the community that I have there online, that those of you that are following that account and part of that community, especially the ones who are active and engaged part of the community, who engage in stories and leave the comments and send messages. Y'all, I love that. I love to engage with you. And the thing is that I know my worth doesn't come from the number of likes on an Instagram post or the number of followers on an Instagram account. And that was a lesson, and I recognize this, that I had to actually live in. I had to actually be humbled by, because I was used to things coming like that, like easily. Like, that was not something I worked for. And not that I'm working for it now, because I'm not working for it. I'm accepting, and I'm kind of loving, and I'm realizing that there's this beautiful place that I'm at. But there was a version of me that would have felt like, I can't show up and start a podcast. I don't have tens or hundreds of thousands of followers or listeners. There's a version of me that would have said, who wants to listen to me? People aren't validating my ideas. They're not following this journey. The podcast account has under 100 followers on it, guys. But does that mean that, like, I shouldn't be here doing it? So what I'm saying is, validate yourself. I validated this idea. I validated the podcast. I'm like, you know what? Yes. this feels right. This feels aligned. This is what I want to do. And I want to do it because I want to serve in this way. I think a podcast is so intimate. It's like you're inviting someone into your life, into your ears, into your home, into your car, into your personal space, right? And what a beautiful way to connect and to share the positivity, the insight, the wisdom, the experiences, the things that I've had personally, and that with these guests that I'll bring on, just all of this stuff. It's great. And I'm validating it. I'm validating myself. I'm not saying I'm not good enough because there aren't all these people that are like cheering me on, right? There's probably some people cheering me on that I don't even know about. And there's probably some people cheering you on that you don't even know about. You know, you inspire people who pretend like they don't even see you. Have you ever seen that meme pop up on your feed? I have. You inspire people who pretend like they don't even see you, meaning just because they're not engaging or validating you in that way with a heart, with a follow, with a like, that doesn't mean that when you show up and live authentically and shine your light and allow it to shine bright, that you're not positively impacting the life of another. Okay? So that's that. I got off on a little bit of a tangent, but maybe not really. I'm just saying it's human to want approval and connection, but like, don't rely on external validation from everyone, and, you know, be true to yourself. And look, self-love uni, it builds up the tools that you need to stand strong in who you are. Unapologetically embracing your gifts and your purpose. And even for some of you who feel like, I don't even know what my purpose is, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Hey, we help you do that too. Okay? Because after all, when you live authentically, the right people will resonate with your light. And I guarantee you, if I met the coffee man today, it would be a whole nother interaction. Right? A whole nother conversation. I don't even think I had conversations with him before, but now I would. Okay? So when your light guides and challenges others. Okay. We all have the capacity to both inspire and challenge others through how we live. And living fully as yourself challenges others to see new possibilities and to confront their limitations. And that's not always easy for them, but it's always worth it for you, right? You've got to be fully as yourself. And one of the reasons, like we said before, that it does challenge other people is because when we see someone who is living so authentically and so embodied and with so much light radiating out of them, that their aura is just, it's divine, it's bright, it's the right people are going to resonate with your light. And yes, there are going to be some people who are that is going to say, nope, not for me. Don't worry about those people. We're not here for those people right now. There are going to be others that are going to be triggered. And because you are going to challenge them, you're going to shine your light in a way that, again, highlights their shadows that maybe they're not willing to confront yet. Maybe they're not willing to deal with yet. Maybe they don't want to yet. And that's okay. Everyone in their own time, right? But just remember, it's not always easy for them. It's always the right thing for you. Don't dim your light for other people, okay? I'm going to mention this again. In Self-Love Uni, this is a place where you can dive into owning this power with intention and care, and stepping into a life that makes an impact without compromising yourself. I want to encourage you to lean into your own self-love journey. Whatever that looks like, shine your light. And realize that you were meant to shine. And the world needs your light. And when you shine your light, yes, it may be a little too bright for some people because they're in a really dark place. Have you ever, you know how when you're in the dark and someone takes a picture with a flash and that flash flashes in your eye and then it's like you can't see. You can't see for a while, like you just can't see. Because it was so dark and then it was just such a bright light that it's just like it blinds you for a little bit. It's just that moment. Well, your light is like that for some people who are in a really dark place. It's just too bright for that moment. That doesn't mean you're too bright, because if you went outside and you took a picture with the flash, you wouldn't even see it, right? That doesn't mean you're too bright. It's just saying that people are in a really dark place in their life, or dealing with their shadows, or not wanting to deal with their shadows, rather. Your light can seem really bright, too bright. That doesn't mean you're too bright. And that doesn't mean you got to quit shining, okay? So just want to remind you that perception is reality and everything is relative, and shine your light, please. And that's what I want you to hear. And I also want you to hear that Self-Love Uni is a place where you can fully explore and embrace your light. And I do want to invite you to join. And we're going to talk more about that a little bit later. But this is what I wanted to talk about. I'm going to go back to the beginning and remind you what started it all. Your light is going to irritate a lot of unhealed people. If you're listening to this, I think that you're on a healing journey. That doesn't mean that we're going to be healing forever and that you're never going to be healed, because you got to live, guys. It is a lifelong journey. It is something there's always another level or another layer to unpeel or unpack or whatever. So like it is this journey that's ongoing and lifelong, and at the same time, like you're not always going to be healing. You understand what I'm saying? Like there are healed parts of you too. So there's so many nuances here, and I'm so excited that we're going to be diving into this. I hope that you had fun with this one. I hope you got some little gems out of there. I think I'm going to wrap it up because we've been talking for about 42 minutes. That seems like a good time. And that's what I got for you today, friends. Until next time, I'll see you. Bye. Before we head out, there are a couple things I wanted to cover. First things first, that quote that I started off with, your light is going to irritate a lot of unhealed people. I saw that on Kathy Heller's Instagram account. And Kathy Heller is the host of the Abundant Ever After podcast. And I'm going to give a little shout out to Kathy because A, she's incredible. And B, as you know, I've already mentioned that I had taken Podcast Lab by Jenna Kutcher years back when I originally, 2020, guys, decided to do the podcast. And then years went by and I wasn't doing the podcast. It was on the vision board every year, but didn't feel like it was time. And then divine timing, enter Kathy, and I've been following Kathy along for a while, and then it came up in my feed and it was like, I'm doing this training. It's called Your Turn to Podcast. And I was like, yeah, I'm in. Say less, right? And so I did the training with Kathy, and here we are, guys. You're listening to the podcast. So thank you to everyone, every coach and mentor who contributed to us arriving here where we are in this moment. And I love that quote, Kathy. One more thing I want to say. Self-Love Uni. I mentioned it. I referenced it several times in this episode, and I said, we'll get back to it. We'll come back to Self-Love Uni. We'll talk about it later, and we will. And we're not going to majorly talk about it now, but I do want to say a couple things. So Self-Love Uni is my signature coaching program. It is for anyone. Anyone. It's for anyone. And it's not about me. It's about you. You're on your own hero's journey, right? And this isn't about trying to say, hey, do this to be like me. No, it's like, do this, go through this so that you can become the most authentic version of you, of yourself. And I've got a little surprise coming up for y'all soon. Let me look at this calendar here. Like next week, when the first regular episode drops, like every Monday, a weekly episode will drop. So next Monday, I've got something really exciting to announce, and it's about Self-Love Uni, and you're gonna want to hear it. There's something I want to tell you for right now, though, and I feel like you're going to be interested in this. It's called Self-Love Ignition. And let me tell you what it is. It's this little mini program. It's something that is easily digestible, and it's something that you can do. It's something I created. It's an online course that you can do. It's not even a course. It's a little program. You can do it in a week. You can do it in a weekend. It's easily digestible, and you can integrate immediately, and you can experience a shift, a self-love shift, a self-compassion shift, a self-acceptance shift, right? A significant shift. And this is not asking you to make a huge time investment right now. It's not asking you to make a huge financial investment right now. It's not asking you to make a huge investment right now. It's asking you to, or inviting you rather, to say, hey, Self-Love Ignition, here's this opportunity to do a little deep dive, but it's a little quickie deep dive, right? And experience some transformation. This is like a little taste of what Self-Love Uni is, and maybe what working with me in one of my coaching programs might look like, or coaching containers. This is a simple program, easily digestible, nothing overwhelming, right? So I'm going to link that down here. I'm going to invite you to give it a go. I think that you're really going to love it. And that's what I got for you today, friends. See you next time. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It. I hope today's episode sparked something powerful within you. Remember, every step you take towards your vision counts, no matter how small. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a second to hit that subscribe button or leave a review. That would be amazing. Or share the podcast with someone who's ready to bring their dreams into reality too. And if you're looking to dive deeper, connect with me on social media at Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It, or at BE_what you want. Or visit dreamedithenreallifedit.us for more resources on aligning your life, business, and dreams. Until next time, keep dreaming and keep manifesting your dreams into real life. Love you, friends.